Alright, what is up my friends? Welcome. We're doing my cube sleeving stream. What's that? I'm just sleeving all the cards in my cube. We're going to hang out and talk about every card, talk about cube design. My cube is a Legacy Plus cube. Very low mana curve, very high power level, but no cards that are like super swingy like Black Lotus or Channel. All info of my cube is in the first video, and I'll also be doing some content on cool stuff, so go watch that. Anything you missed me on YouTube, of course, going through all the colors, going through every card in the cube. And we got my BCW Elite 2 deck card sleeves, of course. Big thanks to BCW for giving me a case of those. Super great stuff. And let's get rock and roll with red here. And where else to start in red but with Ragavan Nimble Pilferer. And it's funny because Ragavan's kind of a bit of a scourge right now in Modern and Legacy. I think it's a pretty fun cube card. It's very powerful, does some fun stuff. It's only a one-of in your deck anyway, so Ragavan's fun. I like it. It's funny that when I first saw Ragavan, I was like, that's going to be a fun cube card, before saying it's going to be busted and in Modern like that. But Ragavan's fun. Again, some cards are just good in the cube, and Ragavan does sort of fit that role. And poor Zurgo Bellstriker, you know? Poor Zurgo Bellstriker. Not quite Ragavan, but still good enough, I think. You gotta have aggro 1-drops in the cube, and it's 2 power for 1 mana. It's got 2 toughness, which is nice, and then of course it has dash as well. This is a pretty solid 1-drop. We have Ragavan at home. No, we're not gonna get Ragavan while we're out. We have Ragavan at home. Just solid aggro card. Nothing crazy. Nothing super impressive, but again, it's very important for the cube to have a good concentration of cards that cost 1 and 2, so mana card is very important. Goblin Guide's great, obviously, only for super aggro decks, pretty real downside, but it's a classic aggro card. One of the important things in red, the most important things, is that most cubes have the problem of red being all Goblin Guides and Lightning Bolts, and every other color has variety. And because of that, you end up with the mono red Fun Police deck, where all you have to do is take a red card every pack, and your deck is already good and playable, and you just crush people because all your cards are so synergistic. That's a huge problem in cube design. Huge problem. It's important to have your red cards that have more variety, which you'll see as we go on. Having Goblin Guides is great. Having every card be a Goblin Guide is a problem. And again, I tried to address that in my cube. You gotta have themes. You gotta have cards that people don't want in their deck, you know, if they are a certain deck. So a good example of that is Blazing Rootwalla. Super cool new card, and Madness works a lot better in red than in black. We see multiple discard outs in red, as well as, you know, in other colors too. And it's also just fine to cast. Not the worst card ever, just cast it. But super cool card for Madness. I've been very impressed with this card. See, in everything, honestly, in Historic, in Modern. Super cool card. Some decks want it, some decks don't. Works well. We have our Prowess cards, obviously. Sifspear and Soulscar Mage. Again, these are cards that are good aggressive cards, but they play better with spells, which is kind of cool. So, you know, the same deck that might want Zurgo might not want Sifspear, and vice versa, or at least they'll value them differently. So Sifspear and Soulscar Mage, both those Prowess threats. Plenty of spells, cheap spells in every color. So Prowess is a very good mechanic in my cube. So that makes sense. Now you have some non-aggro 1-drops in Goblin Welder. Very powerful card. Huge artifact themes in my cube. A lot of graveyard stuff, a lot of artifact stuff, so we can be welding out all sorts of things. It's pretty cool. There's an aggressive artifact deck as well as a big artifact deck, so Welder's obviously a very cool card. Very powerful. Not a card that will always see see play, but it's a very powerful card. It's cheap, it's efficient, and it's a goblin. It is a goblin. Thanks for following, Aeon. If you haven't followed, share that follow. Of course, watching on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Lobmancer, obviously great. It's a good mono red card, but also a good fair card for graveyard decks or for just decks that want some value. Also love me some Grim Lobmancer. And our last 1-drop is actually a 10-drop. Greater Gargadon. And Greater Gargadon, this thing's seen some freaking some battles here. Gargadon's awesome. It's a sacrifice outlet, which is really cool. If you're playing Balance, it's really cool. It's just a really cool, fun card that's cheap. It does a lot of cool things. Again, not every deck wants it, but it's powerful, it's cheap. A lot of things sacrifice in my cube, a lot of token makers, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Greater Gargadon. Moving on to our 2-drops, we have Young Pyromancer in the old frame, which looks freaking awesome. Nicole's had Gargadon in her last 3 drafts, and she had Battle Rage in 2 of them. and that was awesome. It was Battle Rage Gargadon, super, super cool. Definitely some prowessy kind of explosive stuff in my cube as well. Spider-Man's obviously great, good in spell deck, just a very solid card. Abbot of Carol Keep, another prowessy card. A card that gets poo-pooed on a bit in other cubes, but the mana curve of my cube is so low that Abbot should be quite good. And again, more prowess threats is great, so there's tons of spells in my cube. Arcanist is a card that may not be good enough. There are a ton of 1-mana spells in my cube across all the colors. It still might not be enough. So Arcanist is stuck on the borderline here. It's a powerful card, and there is a lot of support for it with so many cheap cards, but it's possible that Arcanist isn't good enough, so it's a bit on the watch list. Another card on the watch list here is Goblin Engineer. A super cool card. Obviously, there's tons of artifacts in my cube. Sort of like a weird Goblin Welder, Stoneforge Mystic, kind of combination card, and can be very powerful. Again, not totally sure about it. There's a lot of red 2-drops that I'm not like totally sure about, but they all care about something, which again is very, very important. So every card's not just an Eidolon or a Goblin Guide. Goblin Engineer cares about things, and more testing is required. It's in for now. It's possible it won't be in the future, but the old frame looks really, really cool too. Magmatic Channeler, again, kind of a cool synergy card. With graveyard stuff, discarding things, puts cards in the graveyard, it grows the prowess things, it's a human, which is kind of cool. Just solid 2-drop, card advantage, does a lot of cool stuff. Card advantage with graveyard stuff, it's kind of like almost like a red-black card in a lot of ways. Robber's just good. It's a human, it's aggressive. Again, not every card's going to be a super synergy card. Robber's is a very, very good card. Also, stealing your opponent's stuff is fun too. Now, Kiln Fiend. Now we're talking. So, a card you'll almost never see in a cube. There's a serious prowess sort of theme in red and white. Cards like Clever Lumimancer, Monastery Swiftspear, etc., etc. And there's also Crash Through, Team of Battle Rage, ways to kind of push this thing through. And Kiln Fiend's awesome. Super fun card, super build-around card, and it cares about things and cares about them in big ways. Explosive, fun, powerful, and again, another kind of hallmark of my cube, I think. The kind of nuts and bolts, card that cares about stuff. Not everyone wants this card. Those who will want it really, really bad. Ember's Shieldbreaker ends up being our 2-mana artifact creature removal spell of choice. Used to be Hearth Kami back in the day. There are a few other options, but Shieldbreaker seems best. Gotta kill artifacts. Gotta have a flexible way to do it. And at the worst case, just a 2-1 human, which is also fine as well. And then our last 2-drop here in Bernie card is Eidolon. I like to have a few cards that are a little more color committed, and again, not every deck's gonna want this card, but your mono red deck will. You want to support the mono red deck. It's not that you don't want people to draft mono red. You just don't want it to be as easy as taking every red card in every pack. So it's not about not supporting mono red. It's about making it so every card in red isn't good in mono red. So make that super clear. Freaking cool commander card. When I saw this card, I was like, wow, what? This card is awesome. Angie's Ravager. 2 mana for a 3/3. Has to attack every turn. Whenever it attacks, you discard your hand and draw 3. So if you have no cards in your hand, you just draw cards. And then if you have cards you want in your graveyard or madness cards in your hand, super awesome. And it has madness too. So it's kind of like this very small madness sub-theme in black. In this and the Rootwalla, where you're kind of just like discarding cards anyway to your Magmatic Channeler or to whatever else. And then the card's also just fine by itself. So super, super cool card. I like this card a lot. It's been really, really cool. And it's just cool, honestly. It's card draw for red, which is nice as well. So super cool card. Not every commander card is cool. That's a really cool one. Bow Crusher Giant. Some cards are just good. Some cards are just good. Is that Faber in chat? What's up, Faber? Tinster looking power creep, yeah. Recruiter, obviously a very cool card. Between Recruiter and Recruiter of the Guard in white, you can kind of find some creature combos, which is kind of cool. And then Aether Violet comes a lot better in these decks. And just, it's a fine card. Again, the kind of card where mono red doesn't really want this card, but some value red decks will. It's kind of cool. Squee, another card that I like a lot. Obviously not really a red card because you often never cast it. But if you're, if you're looting, putting cards in your graveyard, you can keep discarding this over and over and over again. Kind of just a cool synergy card. Again, not really a red card. I can almost see this card being in the color section because you very, very rarely ever cast it. But very cool card, very cool synergy card. Like that one a lot. Speaking of goblins, Goblin Bombardment. Just a good go wide aggressive card. Not much to say. You know, it makes tokens. You can sacrifice tokens and stuff too. Pyromancer's is great. Obviously, great graveyard card, great discard card, Madness Outlet. Just a very, very good card. Again, another great card. The fact that it's a great card, but also supports a lot of synergy is really, really cool too. It's also a human, so that's nice. Let me get into our 4-drops here. This is a section of the cube where the Magic Online cube has like 15 4-drops in red. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't have FTK and Hazoret and Hellrider and Avalanche Riders and so on and so forth. You got to keep it light. You only want 1 or 2 in your deck, if ever. So Hazoret's one of the best ones. Obviously, extremely powerful card. That's the top end card in either your aggressive deck or your kind of like resource light Jundi Rakdosy deck. So super great card. We have Hellrider, which is just your classic aggro curve topper. So Hazoret and Hellrider fulfill that role in red of like the aggro curve topper. It's just 2 of those. We also have Ravenous Baboons. Honestly, one of my favorite cube cards. I just love killing lands. It's very important for your aggressive decks to be able to interact with your opponent's lands to slow them down. A lot of good lands in my cube. And you can also copy this thing, you can flicker this thing. And if you ever ephemerate Ravenous Baboons, it's a good freaking day. It's a good freaking day. And there are so many non-basic lands in my cube, this will always kill something. So always kill something. So love Baboons. Our 5-drops, we have Goldspan Dragon here as our dragon of choice. It was Glorybringer, but Goldspan does some cool stuff. And again, there is like Team or Battle Rage and a few other effects like that, which Dragon's really cool with as well. Makes artifacts more of a mid-range kind of curve topper than anything else, but it's a cool one. It's a cool one. Hiki-Jiki is in the cube. Now, Pestromite is not. Deceiver Exarch is not. Restoration Angel is. But Kiki is just a really freaking cool card, honestly. It's a really good card, even played straight up. A lot of cool things you can do with it. I don't believe there are any combos of Hiki-Jiki, but I could definitely be wrong. Honestly, I could definitely be wrong. And old board looks amazing, so do love me some Hiki-Jiki. And Inferno Titan is the one big fatty in red. Really, really, really powerful card. But again, more of a mid-range red card, and it's really, really good. And our last creature is Bedlam Reveler. Again, more of a synergy card. Again, really good for your prowess deck, your graveyard deck, and so on and so forth. Reveler is a really cool card. Reveler is also a really good in cube as a one-of because it has diminishing returns. So it's the kind of card that gets better in cube because you only have one of them anyway. And I just love this card. A lot of prowess stuff happening in this cube. A lot of prowess stuff, a lot of spell-based stuff, a lot of game actions, a lot of drawing cards, a lot of triggers, and that just makes me happy. Moving on to the spells in red. Now again, very important in your red spell section that every spell is not just a lightning bolt. Because if every spell is a lightning bolt, then you're just dreading mono red every time. So our first spell is a lightning bolt variant, but it cares about things. It is Galvanic Blast. Now, card you rarely ever see in cubes. Again, there's a huge artifact component to my cube. This is a shock at worst, which is fine, and it's a very high upside card for your artifact decks. You know, shock isn't the best burn spell of all time, so you're not like just playing a bunch of bolts in your deck, but it's a removal spell, and it's also an artifact card. Yes, that's a Pro Tour stamp from a GP or something like that, which is cool. So, Ice Cream, Chain Lightning. Again, there are going to be some bolts in the cube, obviously. There's Chain Lightning and there's Lightning Bolts. You know, again, the goal is not to completely neuter mono red as an archetype. The goal is just to make it so every red card is not a mono red card. So we have that. We have a bolt. It is not beta. It is inked. I don't know where I got it from, but you can see or not. It's inked. So looks cool though, right? Looks cool. Galvanic Blast. Any target. Yeah. Any card that says creature or player is any target. So Lightning Bolt. Cool. And then we have our other red burn spells here that are different kind of things. So Unholy Heat, obviously a great new card. More of a control card than anything else. You know, obviously can't target players. Solid card. Deck building restrictions, so on and so forth. Just a good card. Do I have multiples of the same card in my cube? No. It's only singleton. So Unholy Heat's cool. We got Firebolt, the classic here. A little on the edge as far as, you know, could be on the watch list for to be removed from the cube, but I love Flashback, I love card advantage, and Firebolt's a solid one. It's cool. And then we got Lava Dart, a card you will almost never see in a cube. But once again, this is your great nuts and bolts, kind of glue kind of card. Phenomenal in your prowess decks. Phenomenal with, Clever Lumimancer and Soulscar Mage and so on and so forth. Just a good card. Lava Dart's a great card. Just a great card. And again, not a super efficient burn spell, but a good prowess triggery kind of card. So Lava Dart's awesome. And then again, another one of these kind of glue, nuts and bolts cards, Crash Through, a card that I absolutely love. This card's just great. It's a super great prowess card. Makes your Clever Lumimancers and Soulscar Mages have Trample, which is great. Just a super low opportunity cost for high upside card, fills the graveyard, prowess triggers, tramples over, does a lot for so little. I'd much rather have Crash Through in the cube than the 7th Chandra, So it's not always about flashy mythics, it's about cards that turn a deck into a deck, not just a pile of cards. So Crash Through is the nut. It is the nut. And we got a few more red cards here in Reckless Charge. Now, of course, this is a good aggro card, but also a good prowess card, also a good kind of like a go big kind of card. Team Battle Rages in the cube and stuff like that. You can go really big on creature, plays well Crash Through. Again, it's kind of an aggro card, but also kind of like a prowessy, like go big kind of card too. So love Reckless Charge, and of course looting. Looting's freaking great. So no arguments there. Super good synergy card. Looting's great. What do you want? Up next we have Cleansing Wildfire. Now, why would this card be in the cube? So, again, this is does a lot of things. So, first off is it's a cantrip. So, nuts and bolts kind of prowess deck. It cantrips at worst. There are a lot of good lands in the cube. We're talking Tabernacle, Maze of Ith, creature lands. There's 80 lands. There's actually, more than 80. There's 90, 100, 105 lands in the cube. Because I think that I think if your cube deck's mana base is 8 islands, 8 plains, and 1 celestial colonnade, that's not fun. Alright, the goal of my cube is to have you draft decks that look like constructed decks. Okay? And no constructed deck plays 8 islands and 8 plains. Period. End of story. So there are a ton of dual lands and non-basic lands in my cube. A ton of non-basic lands. Like there's 5 for every color. And then there's also just a lot of value lands, Casting Wolfron and so on and so forth. It's kind of cool. So my cube is it's 523. You can type in exclamation point Gym Cube for the information on that. The size varies, But so Wildfire deals with all those fancy lands like that. It's a cantrip. It's a spell. It can mana screw your opponent. And then also there are 4 lands in the cube that you can target of your own to get the rampant growth effect. Let me see in Modern. There's a Flagstones. There's the Undestructible Artifact lands in red, white, and red, blue. And there's Darksteel Citadel. So there are 4 lands in the cube where you can target your own land with this and have it be the rampant growth effect, which is super good. This card's on the edge. I'm not entirely sure about it. I want to try it out. But I think any cheap card that replaces itself is already a lot of the way there. Again, I'd much rather have this card in the cube than the 8th 5-mana dragon. So trying it out, kind of a new one. We'll see how that one goes. But I'm kind of pumped about it, honestly. I'm kind of pumped about it. So next up we have Goblin Bombardment, and a card just got added to Modern. Again, super fun synergy card, almost like a Rakdos card. But could see play in red white also. Make a lot of Gravecrawler, sacrifice it, kind of cool. Or as a finisher in your white deck. Super cool synergy card. Again, not a card you're just playing in your mono red deck, but a card that is a synergy card and is really cool. Goblin Bombardment. I gotta open some more sleeves there, actually. Open some more of these. Gotta crack a pack. The Elite 2 deck card sleeves. Promo code Jim10. Get your own. Best sleeves out there, not close. And super fun card. Yeah, it's a payout for token generators, some board control. The thing is that, again, the reason why cards like Bloodsoak Champion and other 1-drops and crap fail in most cubes is because they aren't given the support to make themselves good. And cards like Goblin Bombardment are that support. So, love Bombardment. It's a super fun card. Love the sacrificey stuff. And I'm excited for it. I'm excited. What's up, stuff? The best BCW color sleeves, Mulberry. It's Mulberry, not close. It's a classic. Alright, So you got Bombardment. Moving on, we have a Braid, just a great card, obviously. You gotta have some artifact destruction in your cube because in this cube, especially because I have a lot of artifacts in my cube, so a Braid's cool. We got Shrapnel Blast here. This is the one altered card in the cube. I don't recall where I got it from. I just ended up with it. It's been in my cube for 15 years. And again, a lot of artifacts in the cube. So it's a burn spell, but it requires certain things to work. And always a fan of this card, which is great. We got TBR, Tier Battle Rage. And this card has been extremely impressive to me because no, it's not altered by the artist. It's just like someone drew on it because they were a child. Battle Rage is super, super cool because once again, this is the kind of card you don't just put this card in your mono red deck. You need to have a reason to put this card in your deck. But there's tons of awesome prowess cards in the cube too. There's Kiln Fiend and Clever Lumimancer and Leon Light Scribe, Monastery Suspire. So this card has been extremely impressive. Nicole's had this card like 3 times already. She had it with Greater Gargadon, which is super cool. It's cool with green creatures like Questing Beast or whatever, Tarmogoyf. Just a really, really cool, powerful card. And a card that cares about certain things. And in case you haven't gotten the gist yet, my cube cares about things. The goal is to have cards that care about things and not just are blanket good, So love Battle Rage in the cube. I've been very, very impressed with it. Super happy, super happy. Singing Songs next. Again, one of your more narrow ritual cards for combo decks. But it's narrow, but it's powerful. It's cool. With that, we got Wheel of Fortune. Now, when I bought this card, it was like $1. It was in the dollar rare box. Apparently, it's like a $500 card now or something like that. I considered selling it and proxying it, but whatever. Wheel of Fortune is obviously great. Great combo card. Good in aggro decks too. But yeah, Wheel's great. Just a super powerful card, super fun card. We got Molten Rain. Molten Rain. Kill your land and then you feel the pain. Oh my god, yeah, it was like $1 when I got it. So good investment here as this was building this cube. Molten Rain's great. And again, it's very important for the aggro decks to have disruption like this. Because otherwise, if your cube is all 5-mana planeswalkers and has no support for aggro and stuff like that, and no disruption, you just end up in this stupid like planeswalker versus bomb battlecruiser magic. I don't like that kind of magic at all. So Molten Rain's super awesome. Tons of non-basics will do the damage most of the time. There is some LD stuff in this cube for sure. So this is definitely a competitive cube. You can't just like dick around. You have to do something, like in Constructed, where your deck needs to do something or get somewhere, or you're going to lose. That's kind of like the core component of my cube. It's a very competitive cube, so Molten Rain is awesome for that. We got one of the best red cards. Again, the goal is to have mono red be a supported archetype, but not be the only thing in red. Look how beat up this card is. This is another World Champs card, and a lot of vortexes have been cast in my cube. A lot of vortexes, so just your quintessential mono red card. We have Fiery Confluence here, another really good card. It's good at mono red or good in other things too, and Confluence is great. It's a pseudo wrath, kills artifacts, kills players. Super great. Super great. Sneak Attack. You're pretty quintessential non-aggro red card, and just obviously a very powerful card. Cool combo card, lots of fun. There aren't a million cards to Sneak Attack in my cube. It's not like the Vintage Cube Magic Online where there's like 5 of every Eldrazi and like a million other things. There only is like an Emrakul, Sundering Titan. There's some. We'll see those in different colors, but so it's not trivially easy to fill your deck with cards for this, but it's very, very powerful. Frenzy is our red enchantment card advantage card of choice, and I do love this card. Super fun. Super fun card. Frenzy. Chandra's your 1 red planeswalker, and definitely the best one. Not even close, I don't think. Chandra's awesome. Just super, super fun card. Very, very powerful. And then our last 2 cards are Wildfire, a card that I freaking love because it encourages your red deck to do other things. Maybe you're artifacting, maybe you're ramping, maybe you're playing larger creatures. I just love Wildfire. I just freaking love this card. Only have 1, and there are cards that have multiple versions. For example, Armageddon was one also, where you can have Ravages of War 2. But I like to keep these effects to 1. Just one Wildfire. Some decks want it, some decks don't. And then our last card's a mono red card. one of the classics in Fire Blast, and mostly there for just the mono red deck. The mono red deck is certainly there. You know, you can draft the mono red deck, but again, the goal is to have not every card be a mono red card. So that's Fire Blast, and that's red. All 55 cards in red, and we're gonna keep moving along here. Our next up is green. We're going over the entire cube. Again, if you missed any of this, it'll be up on YouTube. YouTube folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. Stream folks, let's keep rocking and rolling here. Green is up next.